Imagine discovering the person you're falling for is hiding a secret so cruel it makes your skin crawl. Now, picture being surrounded by his friends, his family, and realizing you're the only one who sees the monster behind the mask. What would you do? Would you walk away, or would you make him feel every ounce of pain he ever caused?
If you've ever wished you could serve justice to someone who thought they'd get away with hurting others, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because this is one of the most chilling yet satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. Let me take you back a few years. I was 26, single, and after a string of disappointments, finally felt like I'd met someone different. Thomas. He was 28, charming, educated, and had this gentle, almost old-fashioned way about him, the kind of guy who opens doors, remembers your coffee order, and actually listens when you talk. After 7 weeks of dating, I was starting to let my guard down. So when Thomas invited me to his father's country house in a small French town for his 29th birthday, I was excited, not just to meet his childhood friends, Alex and Bart, but to meet his father, a man Thomas spoke of with deep respect. It felt like a milestone. Like maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something real. The first night was perfect. We laughed over wine, swapped stories, and I felt instantly at ease with Thomas's father, a kind, intelligent man who made me feel welcome. I remember thinking, this is what happiness feels like. This is what safety feels like. But sometimes happiness is just the calm before the storm. Saturday night. The garden was strung with fairy lights, the air thick with the scent of lavender and barbecue smoke. Neighbors drifted in and out, and as the night wore on, a group of us gathered around a small campfire. Someone suggested sharing childhood stories. At first, it was harmless, tales of scraped knees, pranks, and first crushes. But then the mood shifted. Thomas and his friends started laughing about something. A story, they said, from when they were 14 or 15. At first, I thought it was just another dumb teenage prank. But as they spoke, the laughter turned cruel. The details got darker. They told us about Arthur, a shy, isolated boy from their school. For 6 months, Thomas, Bart, and Alex made him the target of relentless bullying. Name-calling, cruel jokes, the kind of stuff that leaves scars you can't see. But that wasn't the worst of it. They created a fake girl on MSN Messenger using real photos of Bart's cousin. For months, they catfished Arthur, pretending to be a girl who liked him. They flirted, built up his hopes, made him believe he finally had someone who cared. Arthur poured his heart out to this fake girl, sent her love messages, confided in her. And then when they got bored, they set up a fake date. Told Arthur to take a bus for hours wearing a ridiculous Elmer the Elephant t-shirt, a private joke, just to humiliate him further. Of course, no one was there. Arthur waited, alone, probably confused, probably hopeful. The next day, Thomas and Bart told everyone at school. They even shared Arthur's private messages, turning his pain into a spectacle. Arthur stopped coming to class. He changed schools, and as Thomas and his friends told this story, they laughed. Not a hint of shame. In fact, they joked that they weren't evil enough to get Arthur to send nudes. I felt sick. I looked around. Some people were uncomfortable, but most just laughed along, except for Thomas's father. I caught his eye. He looked devastated, like he was seeing his son for the first time and not liking what he saw. Thomas, drunk and oblivious, didn't notice, but I did. I felt my heart break, not just for Arthur, but for myself, for believing Thomas wasn't someone he was. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every laugh. I heard Thomas stumble in at 4 a.m., reeking of alcohol, and I pretended to be asleep. My mind raced. How could someone be so cruel? How could he still find it funny all these years later? I thought about Arthur, about the humiliation, the betrayal, the loneliness. I thought about all the times I'd felt powerless, all the times I'd wished someone would stand up for me. And I realized I couldn't stay silent, not this time. Sunday was Thomas's actual birthday. The plan was for me to take him out for a fancy lunch, just the two of us, before the big party. But as the sun rose, I made a different plan. I packed my things in silence, heart pounding, hands shaking. I left the house before anyone else was awake and walked to the train station, catching the first train back to Paris. But I wasn't done yet. I sent Thomas a text. "Happy birthday! Meet me at random location in an hour for a surprise. I'm going ahead to make sure everything's perfect." He replied, excited, completely unaware. When he arrived, I told him there was a delay, to wait a bit longer. Then I sent him to a restaurant, another 30 minutes away. When he got there, I told him to order food and the most expensive bottle of wine. I kept him waiting, stringing him along just like he'd done to Arthur. His texts got more frantic. "Where are you? Is everything okay? I'm worried." He called over and over. Finally, after almost an hour, I replied, "So, how does it feel to have people play with your feelings?" And then, nothing. I blocked his number. I let him sit there, alone, confused, humiliated, on his birthday no less, just like Arthur all those years ago. As my train sped toward Paris, I stared out the window, my reflection flickering in the glass, my stomach twisted with guilt and anger. Part of me wanted to cry, to scream, to go back and demand answers, but another part of me, the part that remembered every time I'd been made to feel small, felt a cold, quiet satisfaction. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from Thomas, from Alex, from Bart. Even Thomas's father tried to reach me, but for a different reason. When Alex finally got through, he was furious. "You ruined Thomas's birthday. What's wrong with you?" I took a deep breath. "This is an extremely small payback for what you did to Arthur. Tell Thomas to stop calling me," and I hung up. I wish I could say I felt nothing, but the truth is, I felt everything. Relief, sadness, a strange, bittersweet triumph. I knew I'd never see Thomas again, but I hoped, just for a moment, he understood what it felt like to be toyed with, to be left waiting, to have your feelings turned into a joke. In the days that followed, the backlash was intense. Friends called me crazy, said I'd gone too far. "It's not your job to punish someone for what they did as a teenager," they said. "There are adult ways to handle things." But a few people, just a few, understood. Thomas's father called me, not to scold, but to say he understood. He told me he hadn't slept that night, that he was deeply disappointed in his son. He didn't try to defend Thomas. He just said he was sorry things ended this way. Thomas tried to win me back for months. Apologies, gifts, long messages. I never replied. I didn't need to. Some things can't be fixed with words. Sometimes, justice isn't about grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's about making someone feel, just for a moment, the pain they so carelessly inflicted on others. I don't know what happened to Arthur. I hope he's found happiness, confidence, maybe even someone who loves him for who he is. And I hope Thomas never forgets the day he learned what it feels like to be on the other side. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. And if you believe in karma or just love a good story of justice served, make sure to subscribe for more. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and letting karma do the rest.